Have you ever looked back at a moment when life said no to you and realized it was actually the best thing that ever happened? Maybe it was a job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, or a door that slammed shut right when you thought it would open. At the time, it felt painful, maybe even unfair. But with distance, with time, you saw the truth. That rejection wasn't your ending, it was your redirection. You see, in the words of the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. What if every rejection isn't a block but a bridge? What if the universe's no is actually a hidden yes to something greater, something more aligned with your path? This video is for anyone who's ever felt overlooked, undervalued, or flat out rejected. You're not alone. And more importantly, you're not powerless. Today, we'll explore 15 powerful Stoic lessons that will help you turn rejection into fuel for growth, confidence, and purpose. These aren't just lofty ideas, they're practical, real-world strategies you can start using today. Because rejection isn't the enemy. 1. Ignore those who ignore you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gone out of your way to care, to reach out, to show up, only to be met with silence? Being ignored stings. It makes us question our worth. It triggers that little voice inside that asks, "Am I not enough?" But here's the truth you need to remember. When someone chooses to overlook you, it says far more about them than it does about you. Stoicism teaches us this powerful principle. You don't have to react to every slight. Sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. And ignoring those who ignore you, that's not being petty. That's protecting your peace. You're not here to chase people's attention. You're here to build a life filled with purpose, joy, and people who see your worth without you having to prove it. Think about this. Every second you spend worrying about someone who won't text back, return your call, or acknowledge your presence is a second stolen from your happiness, your growth, your goals. So instead of shrinking to fit into someone else's silence, rise above it, redirect your energy, dive into the things that light you up. Spend time with those who value your time. Learn something new. Build something meaningful. Because the truth is, when you stop chasing people who ignore you, you start attracting people who see you. And that's the power of self-respect. 2. Don't react emotionally rejection, indifference, disrespect. When those moments hit, the first instinct, react, fire back, defend, prove something. But here's a truth most people never learn. Your real power is in your calm, not your reaction. Stoic wisdom teaches that emotional control isn't suppression, it's strength. Because the more someone's behavior can shake you, the more power you've given them over your peace. The next time someone ignores you, talks down to you, or treats you unfairly, stop. Don't let anger take the wheel. Don't let insecurity write the script. Instead, ask yourself a deeper question. Why is this bothering me so much? You see, most of the time, it's not what they said or did. It's what it triggered inside you. Maybe it poked at an old wound, a fear of not being enough, a desire to be seen, heard, validated. But here's the beautiful part. When you take a moment to breathe, to reflect, to respond instead of react, you shift from victim to master. You become the kind of person who owns their emotions instead of being owned by them. That's rare. That's powerful. And in a noisy world, where everyone's quick to lash out, your calm will set you apart. So remember this, your emotions are valid, but how you use them, that's where real strength lives. 3. Remove them from your mind. Let me tell you something we don't hear enough. You don't owe your mental real estate to people who've hurt you. If someone has rejected you, ignored you, or treated you like you don't matter, it's easy to let that moment replay in your head like a broken record. You go to sleep thinking about it. You wake up still carrying it. It weighs on you. And for what? Here's what Stoicism teaches us. Emotional detachment is not cold. It's wise. It doesn't mean you pretend nothing happened. It means you stop giving them power over your peace. So instead of letting that person live rent-free in your mind, clear the space and fill it with something that builds you. Pick up that book you've been meaning to read. Sign up for that course. Go volunteer. Learn a new skill. Do something that reminds you. Your life is bigger than that moment, and you are more than someone else's opinion. Because the truth is, you become what you focus on. So why not focus on growth, on joy, on becoming the strongest version of yourself? This isn't about running away from pain. It's about walking toward purpose. When you take your energy back and invest it in your own life, amazing things begin to happen. You stop obsessing over who left and start becoming someone no one wants to lose. That's how you reclaim your mind and your future. 4. Prove your worth. Have you ever been overlooked, passed up for a promotion, dismissed like you didn't matter? It hurts. It can make you doubt yourself. But here's what the Stoics would say. Use it. Use that moment not as a wound, but as fuel. You see, when someone underestimates you, you have two choices. You can shrink, or you can build. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself who you really are. This is your invitation to rise. Start that side project you've been putting off. Volunteer to lead. Pitch your idea. Take initiative, not with bitterness, but with quiet strength. Because here's the truth, your value doesn't decrease just because someone failed to see it. Their blind spot is not your ceiling. Marcus Aurelius reminded us to focus on what we can control, and what you can control is how you respond. You can either let rejection define you or refine you. So the next time someone doubts your talent, your potential, your heart, let your actions do the talking. Show up with integrity, stay consistent, grow beyond what even you thought was possible. And over time, your work will speak louder than any rejection ever could. You don't need to shout to be seen. You just need to build something worth seeing. 5. Cut off contact. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. No calls, no texts, no explanations, just silence. When someone ignores you, mistreats you, or takes your presence for granted, your instinct might scream to fix it, to reach out, to make them see what they're losing. But here's the truth. Chasing closure from someone who doesn't care only opens more wounds. There comes a time when cutting off contact isn't about being cold. It's about reclaiming control. It's about protecting your energy and setting boundaries that say, I respect myself too much to beg for space in someone else's life. Think of it this way. Every message you don't send is you choosing peace over chaos. Every call you don't make is a step toward healing. Silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to walk away with your dignity intact. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control others. We can only control our response. And silence, when used with intention, is a statement. It says, I'm moving on, not out of anger, but out of clarity. Let them wonder. Let them feel the absence of your presence. Meanwhile, you focus on your growth, your goals, your peace. Because when you stop chasing what's not meant for you, you start attracting everything that is. That's how you take your power back. 6. Quietly prove them wrong. Let them doubt you. Let them write you off. Let them say you're not good enough. Because you don't need to argue. You don't need to explain. You don't need to prove anything with words. Let your growth speak for you. You see, when someone rejects or underestimates you, the ego wants to fight back, to convince them they're wrong. But Stoic wisdom tells us, your energy is better spent building, not begging. This isn't about revenge. It's not about showing off. It's about rising into the version of yourself you know you're capable of becoming. Quietly, consistently, without fanfare. Maybe they said you'd never make it. Fine, go build the life they said you couldn't. Maybe they said you weren't talented enough. Okay, go master the craft until even you're surprised by your progress. No announcements, no drama, just results. Because nothing hits harder than success earned in silence, and when you stop chasing approval and start focusing on improvement, everything changes. Your confidence rises, your circle shifts, your opportunities multiply. So don't waste time proving them wrong out loud. Become so good they can't ignore you, even if they want to. That's real power. That's Stoic strength. Number 7, go out and enjoy life. When life knocks you down, don't stay there and overthink it. One of the biggest mistakes we make after rejection is retreating into isolation. We shut down, we replay the moment, we build a prison in our own minds and call it healing. But healing doesn't happen in darkness. It happens when you step back into the light. Go out and live. Seriously, go outside. Try something new. Book that weekend trip. Take a cooking class. Go for a hike. Call up friends and laugh over something stupid. These aren't distractions. They're reminders that life is still full of beauty and connection. Rejection tries to shrink your world. But the Stoic way? Expand it. Say yes to new experiences. Not because you're running from pain, but because you're choosing joy. You're reclaiming your right to feel alive, even when someone else made you feel small. The more you explore, the more you remember that your story isn't over. Far from it. In fact, this might be the chapter where everything really begins. So next time your heart breaks, don't hide. Go dance. Go learn. Go laugh. Because a joyful spirit is a rebel's answer to rejection. That's how you rise and how you start writing a better story. 8. Build your social value. You don't need to shout to be seen. You don't need to chase attention to be valued. What you need is to grow so steadily, so purposefully, that your presence naturally creates impact. When someone ignores or rejects us, the temptation is to prove our worth by trying to be noticed, louder, flashier, more visible. But the Stoic path is different. It says you don't build true influence by demanding attention. You build it by becoming someone worth listening to. So start there, not with an audience, but with yourself. Level up your skills, sharpen your discipline, take care of your body, serve your community, share your story, not the highlight reel, but the real story. The struggles, the growth, the lessons. That's what people connect to. That's what makes you unforgettable. Because here's the truth, social value isn't about status, it's about substance. When you invest in your own development and lift others along the way, your influence multiplies. Not through ego, but through authenticity. Not by climbing over people, but by raising the standard for what leadership really looks like. So forget about being liked. Focus on being real. Be the kind of person who doesn't just move through the crowd, but leaves a trail of inspiration behind. 9. Act as if they don't exist. Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible? It hurts, especially when it comes from someone you once cared about, or still do. But here's the Stoic truth. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. And when someone consistently ignores you or disrespects your presence, the most powerful response isn't confrontation. It's detachment. It's not cold, it's clarity. You don't need to argue, explain, or beg to be seen. You don't need to twist yourself into someone else's version of worthy. Instead, carry yourself with quiet dignity. If they choose to look past you, so be it. That's their blind spot, not your burden. In shared spaces, be polite, be professional, but keep it brief and keep it moving. Your time, your peace, and your self-respect are too valuable to waste on proving anything to people who've already chosen not to see you. And if the situation keeps draining your energy, walk away. Not in anger, but in power. Remember, your worth isn't measured by who notices you. It's measured by how deeply you respect yourself, especially when no one else seems to. Stay grounded, stay kind, and never let anyone's silence turn down the volume of your soul. 10. Use silence as a powerful tool. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. In a world obsessed with instant reactions, nonstop opinions, and emotional outbursts, silence becomes a radical act of strength. Stoic wisdom teaches us this. Silence isn't weakness, it's mastery. It's the space between stimulus and response, the pause where clarity is born. Think about it. How many times have you regretted speaking too soon? But how often have you regretted taking a moment to breathe, to reflect, to say nothing? When someone tries to provoke you, your silence can disarm them. When emotions run high, your silence keeps you grounded. And when the world feels loud and chaotic, silence is where you find your balance again. But make no mistake, this silence is not avoidance. It's not passivity. It's a deliberate choice. A declaration, I don't need to react to prove my worth. I choose peace over drama, wisdom over impulse. So the next time you're tempted to respond with noise, try stillness. Let your silence speak for your strength. Let it protect your values, your energy, and your inner calm. Because sometimes the quietest person in the room is the most powerful one there. Number 11, don't beg for attention. Let's get one thing clear. You don't need to beg for attention to prove your worth. In a world where social validation feels like currency, It's easy to fall into the trap of over-explaining, overperforming, or reshaping who we are just to feel seen. But Stoic wisdom reminds us, true power comes not from chasing applause, but from standing firm in our own truth. You don't need to shine louder to be worthy. You just need to be real. Because when you constantly seek attention, you give others the remote control to your self-worth. You begin to ask, am I enough for them? When the real question should be, am I honoring who I truly am? The moment you stop begging to be noticed is the moment you start attracting the right people, those who respect your peace, not just your performance. Live authentically, speak with honesty, smile when you mean it, and let your presence be your statement, not your performance. You are not here to entertain. You're here to live deeply, boldly, and on your own terms. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. 12. Be kind, but keep emotional distance. There's real power in being kind without becoming emotionally entangled. Just because someone is in your life doesn't mean they should have access to your inner peace. Stoic wisdom teaches us, be courteous, be respectful, but don't let others control your emotions. Why? Because the moment you allow someone else's mood, attitude, or approval to dictate your feelings, you give away your freedom. So instead of reacting, practice observing. Set healthy boundaries not out of coldness, but out of self-respect. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your emotions. You can smile, support, and even listen, but that doesn't mean you need to absorb their chaos. This isn't about being distant, it's about being wise. It's okay to care for others, but it's even more important to protect your own peace. Because the more you guard your heart, the more power you have to choose your response, not just emotionally survive, but thrive. Kindness with clarity, that's real strength. 13. Don't broadcast your pain. You don't need to bleed in public to prove you've been wounded. In fact, true strength often looks like quiet resilience, choosing not to let the world see every crack in your heart. Stoicism reminds us, just because you're hurting doesn't mean you have to hand your pain over to everyone else. There is honor in healing quietly. There is power in not letting every emotion take the spotlight. And no, it's not about pretending you're okay. It's about choosing how and when to share, instead of reacting out of need or vulnerability. Let me ask you, when was the last time you chose silence, not out of fear, but out of strength? You don't owe the world an explanation for every scar. Sometimes the most powerful message is how gracefully you carry what you've survived. Control over your emotions is not emotional repression. It's emotional intelligence. And when you learn to master that, you stop seeking pity and start building quiet power. 14. Rejection is a launchpad for personal growth. What if I told you that every no you've ever received was actually a hidden yes, a redirection towards something greater? It's easy to take rejection personally. We feel unwanted, unworthy, or simply not enough. But Stoic wisdom invites us to see rejection differently, not as a wall, but as a doorway. Every time life shuts a door, it's giving you a chance to pause, reflect, and grow. Maybe that job you didn't get, it forced you to sharpen your skills. That relationship that ended, it pushed you to rediscover your identity. The truth is, rejection isn't the end. It's the beginning of something more aligned with your purpose. Ask yourself, who might you become if you saw every rejection as a challenge to rise, not a reason to retreat? Your future self is shaped in these moments, not when everything goes right, but when things fall apart and you choose to rise anyway. So the next time you hear no, remember, it might just be life's way of saying, you're meant for more. 15. Redefine success on your own terms. What if true success isn't about applause, trophies, or followers, but about living a life that actually feels right to you? Too often, we chase dreams that don't belong to us. Titles, possessions, validation, because somewhere along the way, we were told that's what success looks like. But Stoic wisdom reminds us the only standard that truly matters is yours. You don't have to run someone else's race. You don't have to meet expectations you never agreed to. Real freedom is waking up every day and asking yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? What truly fulfills me? And then, having the courage to build that life, one choice at a time, You don't need the world's permission to feel proud of who you are. Define success not by what you have, but by who you've become. Because at the end of the day, success isn't out there. It's built within. Turning rejection into a powerful ally. Rejection. It hurts. But what if I told you it doesn't have to break you? In fact, it can build you. Every no you've ever received wasn't the end of your story. It was a redirection, a challenge, a mirror asking, will you rise? Will you grow? Will you choose to keep going? Not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Stoic wisdom teaches us that rejection is not failure, it's fuel. It's the fire that forges character, sharpens purpose, and reveals your real strength. Not when things are easy, but when they're hard. So the next time the door slams shut, pause, breathe, remember. That door may not be the one you needed anyway. Apply these lessons. Make them part of how you live, how you think, how you respond. And if you felt this message, if it sparked something inside you, drop the words strength in adversity in the comments. Let's remind the world, even rejection has something to teach. And we have the power to turn it into something beautiful. If this message spoke to you, don't stop here. Watch the full video to discover all 15 Stoic lessons that can turn rejection into inner strength. Hit subscribe for more wisdom every week and drop your thoughts or questions in the comments. I'd love to hear your story.